You are lying on a thin mat in a Dutch farmhouse outside the Gamtoos Valley, and the farm is called Baartman's Fonteyn, though it does not belong to you. Nothing does. This is the story of Sara Baartman told from inside her body, from the Gamtoos Valley to the London stage to Cuvier's Paris laboratory, showing how a coy woman was legally trapped by the very court that was meant to free her, and how her exploitation continues in scandal and vandalism into the present day. You are in your 30s. You have already buried 3 children. You do not speak of them, because the moment you say their names out loud, the ache splits open and you cannot close it again. So you keep working. You carry water. You scrub floors that were never yours. And somewhere deep inside, you feel the shape of a life that could have been a fiancé, a wedding, a home in the veld, before the commando raid, before you saw his blood on the grass, before the Dutch riders took everything and left you with a first name you can barely pronounce anymore, Sarchi. And then one afternoon, a man walks in from Cape Town, and the ground shifts under you again. His name is Pieter Cesars. He smiles too easily. He talks about the city like it is a promise. He says his brother Hendrik has room for a servant, that the pay is real, that you will eat meat and wear shoes. You look at the farm, at the graves you cannot visit, at the endless dust, and you say yes. You do not know that this is the first door closing behind you. Cape Town is louder than anything you have ever known. The harbor stinks of tar and rotting fish. Soldiers everywhere. British soldiers now, not Dutch, because the empire has changed hands while you were mourning your dead. Hendrik Cesars is not a Boer. He is a free man of color, and there is something in the way he looks at you. Calculating, measuring, that tells you he sees you not as a woman, but as a sum. You do the work of a servant. You wash. You cook. You bury another child, a small one who barely opened his eyes. You take a common-law husband, a Dutch drummer named Hendrik van Jong, and for 2 years you almost feel human again. Then he leaves. They all leave. And you are alone in a city that does not want you. That is when the doctor comes. Alexander Dunlop. Everyone calls him a ship's surgeon, but you learn quickly that he is something worse. He is the medical superintendent of the government slave lodge, the man who holds the keys to hundreds of enslaved bodies, who signs papers on who lives and who dies, who requisitions humans the way other men requisition flour. He looks at you the way Pieter Cesars did. Calculating, he tells you about London. He tells you about money. He tells you that the English pay to see wonders, and that you, Sara, are a wonder. You do not know what a wonder is. You only know that he has already spoken to Hendrik Cesars, that the 2 of them have already decided, that a contract exists before you have said a single word. They put a mark next to your name on a piece of paper you cannot read. The ship rocks for weeks. You are seasick in a hold that stinks of vomit and salt. And every time you close your eyes, you see the coast of Africa slipping backwards into the fog. Dunlop has brought a slave boy with him, requisitioned, like cargo, and the boy cries at night and you hold him because there is no one else to hold. When you finally see London, it is gray, cold, wet, alien. The buildings scrape the sky. The people push past you as if you are a shadow, and then they take you to a room off Piccadilly and they put you on a stage. The cage is not really a cage. It is worse. It is a low wooden platform with a rope, and the rope goes around your waist, and Hendrik Cesars stands beside you with a stick, and he tells you in Low Dutch, quietly, to turn, to bend, to stand still, while the English women scream and the English men lean forward with their mouths half open. You are wearing a costume tighter than your own skin. They have painted your face. They have named you the Hottentot Venus, and the word Venus does not mean beautiful here. It means specimen. Every night you go back to a cold room and you count the coins you never see. Cesars takes them. Dunlop takes them. You get bread. You get gin. You learn very quickly that the gin is the only thing that makes the stage bearable, so you drink it. And then you drink more of it. And then you cannot stop. Then one morning the door bangs open and men in coats are shouting. Abolitionists. They have come to save you. They stand in a London courtroom and they call your exhibition slavery, and for one strange moment you think, maybe this is the end. Maybe someone is finally telling the truth about what is happening to you. But the men in wigs decide they cannot rule without hearing from you. And so on the 27th of November, 1810, they come to your rented room, and they interrogate you for 3 hours in Low Dutch, and you sit there with Cesar's in the next room, with Dunlop's eyes on the back of your neck, and they ask if you are happy. You say yes. You say you came freely. You say you are paid. You say you are under no restraint. You know what will happen to you if you say anything else. You know Cesar's. You know the stick. You know the ship back to Cape Town does not exist for you anymore. The court refuses the writ of habeas corpus. You have won your case. And in winning it, you have legally sealed yourself inside the cage forever. You are now, on paper, a free contractual party, which means no one is coming. The shows continue. The gin continues. Your body starts to fail. You cough. Your skin breaks out. You cannot remember your mother's face anymore, and this frightens you more than anything, because if her face is gone, then maybe you were never a daughter. Maybe you were only ever this thing on a stage. In Manchester, on the 1st of December, 1811, they baptize you. Chaplain Joshua Brooks. A special permission letter from the Bishop of Chester, because your soul apparently requires paperwork. You stand in the cathedral, and the cold water runs down your face, and you understand, in some dim way, that they are doing this so that when you die, you can be buried in Christian ground. You fold the certificate very small. You keep it against your body. You will keep it against your body for the next 4 years, because it is the only piece of paper in the world that has your name on it and calls you a person. Then Dunlop dies, and Cesar's sells you. You do not have a word for what happens next, because there is no word for being handed from one man to another like a coat. His name is S. Rose. He is French. He is a former ballet master who was deported from the Cape for sedition, and now he is your owner in everything but law, and he takes you to Paris. Paris is worse than London. The stages are smaller and dirtier. The men are closer. You are not just displayed now, you are prodded, poked, sniffed, Rokes charges extra for touching. And there is always someone willing to pay. You drink more. You cannot stop drinking. And then, one afternoon, a small round man with cold eyes comes to see you, and he brings other men with him, other scientists, and they arrange you like furniture, and they measure you for 3 days. His name is Georges Cuvier. He is the most famous naturalist in France. He looks at you, and he does not see a person. He sees a link between humans and animals, a proof of his theory, a body he has been waiting his whole career to touch. He asks you to remove your clothing. Ross nods from the corner. You refuse the one thing they demand most. You keep your apron, the small covering that coy women wear, and this refusal will haunt Cuvier for the rest of his life, because it is the one part of you he cannot have while you are still alive. He decides, quietly, that he will have it later. You go back to your room. You drink. You cough blood into a rag. The cold in Paris is a different cold than the cold in London. It gets into your bones and does not leave. And the eruptive rash on your skin spreads, and you know the way an animal knows, that this is the end. You die at the end of December 1815. You are around 40 years old. Cuvier writes on the certificate that the cause of death is an inflammatory and eruptive disease. Later scholars will argue it was pneumonia, not the syphilis the world will accuse you of for the next 200 years. It does not matter. You are dead. And on your body, folded into a tiny square against your chest, is the baptism certificate from Manchester, the only proof left that anyone ever called you by your name. Cuvier comes for you within hours. He takes the apron first. He takes your brain. He takes your skeleton. He makes a plaster cast of your entire body while you are still soft. He labels you Boschman, Bushman, because Hottentot is not primitive enough for the argument he wants to make. He puts you in jars. He puts you in a museum. And for the next 159 years, tourists will walk past you in the Musée de l'Homme in Paris, glass between them and what is left of you. And children will press their faces to the glass and laugh. You are removed from public display, slowly, between 1974 and 1985. Nobody apologizes. It takes until 1994 for a man named Mansell Opum and the Griqua National Conference to begin fighting for you. It takes until 2002 for France to release your remains. Nelson Mandela himself has to ask. And when you finally come home, they bury you on a hill above the Gamtoos Valley, the same valley you were stolen from on Women's Day, in front of thousands of people who are weeping for a woman none of them ever met. But even that is not the end. Because in 2015, they come for you again. Vandals, they smash your grave. They dig at the earth as if there is still something to take. In the memorial center they promised to build in Hankey. The Sara Baartman Center of Remembrance sits half-built in the Veld, over 200 million rand spent, 37% complete, deadlines slipping into 2027, the walls cracking in the sun. You are still, somehow, waiting to be finished. And somewhere in a locked archive in Paris, they say Cuvier's plaster cast of your body still exists. Sealed away. Not destroyed. Not returned. Just waiting. You lived your whole life being looked at. And even now, more than 200 years later, someone somewhere is deciding whether to look at you again.